Greetings, Algebra students. Haven't seen you since last week. I haven't been in a classroom like I am right now since it's been at least 2.5 weeks since I was in here. I'm in the freshman Bible room right now. My trusted assistant / daughter Megan here to help.
Hi.
Deuces. I should have said hello, all you cool cats and kittens out there. Carol Baskin. Killer husband whacked him. All right, anyway, that's enough of that. Hey, so before we get started in the factory, probably my favorite thing in algebra to teach. Of course, I have to remind you, do you know what season it is right now? Well, it's spring, of course, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited it's spring that I nearly wet my plants. Heyo! All right, love that one. All right, so what I want to do, I don't know why I'm yelling. What I want to do is show you again how we factored from last week, okay? We're going to go over it together methodically. We're going to look at when all signs are pluses, when the left sign is a negative and the right sign is a positive, and then when the left side is a negative or positive and the right side is negative. Those three situations. Then I want to show you how to factor when there's a number in front of the squared variable, okay? It's the same thing. The whole concept is exactly the same thing. So let's dig in. Megan, be sure and get it as close as you can for them to see pretty clearly, okay?
Okay.
So I'm on your homework page. I should have looked at this before I started. It is on page 389. Okay, so I'm starting in the first section. I'm going to do one from each of the evens. So I'm going to do number 6 first. S squared plus 11s plus 30. Okay, so please remember what I've told you to do first. Write your template down. What times what equals this here, the number here, times the number here. Remember, when there's no number here, it's a 1, an invisible 1. So 1 times 30, that goes here. And then what plus what equals this number here, including the sign, so you don't lose sight of that. So what times what gives you 30, what plus what gives you a positive 11. So the methodical approach to this is figure out what your factors of 30 are. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. Those are your 4 options when you factor out 30 that multiply together to give you 30, right? So of these 4 options, which of those pair, when added together, give you an 11? Hopefully you can see it's 5 and 6. Okay, so you plug in 5 and 6. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. You put 6 and 5 or 5 and 6, as long as you put them in the same order in both spots, okay? So we're going to put, in fact, I'll go with a different color since I kind of got used to that online. We'll just do 5 here and 6 here, 5 here and 6 there. Okay, so we come down here now and we write our brackets. Drop down the s squared. Drop down the first number and add a variable to it. And it's a positive 5, add the variable x. Oh, sorry, the variable here is s, sorry. So s squared plus 5s. Over here, drop down the number with the sign in the second side, and then drop this number down and add the variable to it. So 6s plus 30, okay? So I brought the first term down, put it in the first spot, brought the last term down, put it in the last spot, and then brought the 2 numbers down in their order with their signs, if they're positive or negative, and put them in, adding a variable. The next step is you factor both of those parentheses, right? So this one is s squared plus 5s. Hopefully you can see the common term between those is the letter s. So we pull out the s, that leaves me with s plus 5. Over here, the greatest common factor between 6s and 30 is just the number 6. Please add the sign, it's a positive number, plus 6, and then leaves you with s plus 5. You know you're on the right track if these 2 terms are identical. If they are not, you've done something wrong. Okay, last thing to do then is complete your factoring. Write your two brackets. Put the letter here, S. Put this factored out here, plus 6. And then put your duplicate term here, S plus 5. And that's your answer. S plus 6 times S plus 5. No big deal. I am going to... No, I'll do that. I'll come back to that, what I was going to do. All right. So that was doing one where everything's a positive, okay? So I'm going to slide it up a little bit. We're going to go to number 12. Okay, number 12 says k squared minus 10k plus 24. We want to factor that. K squared minus 10k plus 24. Again, do your template. What times what gives me 24? 1 times 24. What plus what gives me a negative 10. That's important to note. It's a negative 10, so you have to write that in there. Okay? So again, to do this methodically, you put all the factors of 24, but remember this negative changes things a little bit. So your factors of 24 look like this. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Right? Those are your 4 primary factors, factored pairs of 24. However, remember to answer this question, they need to add up to a negative 10. Okay? They need to multiply together to be positive, but add together to be negative. The only way that happens is if both of these terms are negative. So think of it, first of all, before you worry about the sign, look at these and tell me which of those, when added together, give you 10. Clearly, it's the 4 and the 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. But if you remember that we have to make it a negative 10, add the negative sign to both. Okay, so it looks like this. Negative 4 and negative 6. Because obviously, if you recall, when you multiply 2 negatives together, you get a positive, 24. When you add 2 negatives together, it becomes more negative to a negative 10. Okay? So now we bring down we make our brackets, bring down our first term into the first position, bring down our last term into the last position. Drop the first number down with the sign and add the variable. Drop the second term down with the sign and add the variable. Okay, and now we just need to factor. K squared minus 4k. K is the common factor. Leaves you with k minus 4. Over here now, remember we want to get k minus 4. You should be able to see that 6 is the common factor, but if you factor out just a 6, you're going to be left with a negative k plus 4. We need these to match, so we have to factor out a negative 6. And that gives you k minus 4. So now they match. So we're golden. Okay? So our final answer, we write our 2 brackets down here. We have k minus 6 and k minus 4. All right, so that's when the first sign is a negative and the second sign is a positive. You end up with both of them being negative. All right, and one more example to do here is just below. I'm going to choose, 20 looks fun. H squared plus 6h minus 27. Okay, so again, our template, what times what gives me a negative 27, and what plus what gives me a positive 6. Okay, so we factor 27. You have 1 times 27, and you have 3 times 9. Those are your options. At first, it doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're like, well, 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 27 is 28. But we need it to become a negative 27. So one of them needs to be a negative in order for them, when they multiply together, to end up being a negative. Well, 1 and 27, hopefully you clearly see by now, has nothing to do with this. So we're looking at the 3 and the 9. Which of those should be negative so that when I add them together, it becomes a positive 6? Negative 3 plus 9 gives me plus 6. So that's our answer right there, because negative 3 times 9 gives me a negative 27. Right? So let's write those in. Negative 3 and 9. Negative 3 and 9. Let's erase. Okay, so again, following our directions, write our two brackets. First term goes in the first position. Second term with its sign goes in the last position. Bring down the first number with its sign and add the variable. Second number with its sign and add the variable. So I have h squared minus 3h. The common term there is an h. So it's h minus 3. The common term between these two, 9h and 27, is a positive 9, which leaves me h minus 3. And again, we should feel happy because these are identical, so we know we're good. The answer at the end, h plus 9, right, from here and here, and then h minus 3 duplicated ones. And there's your answer. Pretty straightforward, right? All right, what I wanted to show you, just real briefly, is how I learned it when I was in school. And it's kind of similar. It follows some rules that I think make it easy. I do like how I did this, especially when we get on to the next section of multiplying with a number in front of the squared term. Because the way I just showed you makes that much easier. But I like the way that I did this too. It's just, you just have to remember the 3 rules to follow. All right? So, let me go back. I wish I had a blank. What I'm going to do is this. I want just the screen. So I want to write them side by side. So I'm going to write this. I'm going to write 3 different ones, Megan. I'll work at them one at a time. So that is number 8, number 10, 13, and 22. And I need 2 from this selection. 22. Okay, so from this I'm going to do 18 and 22. So s squared 3s and 40. And m squared 6 and 7. All right, so I've got 4 different things up here. You don't got to zoom back. We'll zoom in on each one here in just a minute. But I got 4 different trinomials we're going to factor. I'm going to show you the rules that I utilized when I grew up as to how this happens, and I've found it to be very easy. Okay, so let's look at the first. Here's how I go about it. So the first one is y squared plus 13 plus 40. So I write the brackets, of course, as always. So here's how I learned it. I said, okay, first of all, the first thing I do is I look at the second sign. If the second sign is positive, it means that the sign in both brackets is the same sign. Whatever the sign is, it's the same. What sign is it? The first sign tells me. It's a plus, so both of these are plus. So again, I look at the second sign. If it's a plus, both signs are the same, and it's a plus. Let's step over and use those same rules over here. I look at the second sign. It's a plus sign. Again, that tells me both signs are the same. The first sign tells me those signs are negative. Look over here. Now, the second sign is a negative. Very tell. The second sign is a negative. It tells me that the signs are opposite. One's a plus, one's a minus. It doesn't matter which way you write it. What the plus tells me is that the largest of the 2 factors goes with the plus sign. We'll get back to that. And then lastly, the second sign is a negative, so they're opposite signs. The first sign is a negative, which means the largest factor will be negative. And we'll get back to that as well. All right, so let's get back to the beginning. So I've got y squared plus 13y plus 40. We've determined how the signs are going to be. Again, the second sign is a plus. They're both the same. The first sign is a plus. It means they're both plus. So here's how we approached it with English. What two factors of 40, when added together, give me 13? What two factors of 40, when added together, give me 13? Megan, do you know the answer?
Is it 5 and 7?
Is 5 and 7 40? It's 5 times 7 40.
5 times 8?
5 and 8, Megan. 5 and 8. The two factors of 40, 5 times 8, when added together, give me 13. 5 and 8. Doesn't matter which way you put them, and you're done. Okay? That's that. Let's go to the next one. Again, second sign is a positive. They're both the same sign. The first sign's a negative, so they're both negative. Using my English terms, I'm going to torture my daughter. What two factors of 22, when added together, give me 13?
Negative 13?
Nope. What two? And she asked negative 13, the answer is no. What two factors of 22, when added together, give me 13?
Are you asking me?
I am.
Oh, 2 and 11?
2 and 11. Thank you. 2 and 11. Doesn't matter which order you put them because the sign's the same. Put in your variables and you're done. Okay? The thing about the way I do it is well, I'm using mental math. You don't have to use mental math. You could write out the factors of 40 or the factors of 22 to get to the answer. I'm just, in the essence of time, using mental math to arrive at that. I'm also using my daughter's mental math skills to test her. Okay? All right. The third term. Again, the second sign was negative, which means the signs are different. The largest factor that we come up with is going to be positive. That's what the first sign tells us. So here's how we change slightly when we ask. What two factors of 40, when subtracted, give me 3? Two factors of 40, when you subtract them, give me 3. I'm asking you.
8 and 5.
8 and 5. Way to go, collegiate student. 8 minus 5 is 3. So where do I put the 8 and where do I put the 5? Remember what I said. Because this is positive here, the largest term goes with the positive. So the 8 goes here, the 5 goes here. Put in your variables and you're done. Last one. Second sign is negative. The signs are different. The first sign is negative. It means whatever factors we come up with, the largest factor is going to be negative. So here we go again. What two factors of 7, when subtracted, give me 6? Megan?
7 and minus 1.
No, just 7 and 1. Not 7 and minus 1, just 7. Because 7 minus 1 is 6. The two factors of 7, when you subtract them, they give you 6, is 7 and 1. The largest of those two factors goes to the negative, 7. The 1 goes here. Put in the variables. And you're done. Okay? So for me, because I know this system well, and I use mental math quickly with your factors, I find this to be much easier. You guys can take this approach if you like, or you can do the other approach of Miss Eberly's, which I really think is pretty cool. We're going to use that for the next section anyway. Whichever way you go, I'm comfortable with, but I did want to show you how I do it, because for me, this goes faster. Okay? Great. That's the cue to
Oh.
deuces.